You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Bar Rescue After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Bar Rescue After Show. If you get in trouble, bring it home.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Bing is for doing, and we're doing Season 3. We're back with Episode 11 after the long hiatus. I am Phil Svitek, joined alongside Keven Undergaro today.
Oh, thank God we're back.
I know, it's been a long hiatus, so we have 10 more episodes, for this part of the season, so I'm very excited. But before we get into what was a very good episode to come back from, I want to talk about, real fast, our experience meeting Jon Taffer.
It was amazing. You know what? So Maria has her annual party, and Ron Hoffman, who's Jon Taffer's publicist, is also our publicist.
And he's been here before. You guys remember him from the show.
I think he did Glee. He hosted Glee.
He hosted Glee, but he was also on the Bar Rescue podcast for those of you who have been following us.
Okay. And I didn't know Jon was coming, and so I see Jon on the tennis court. Now, mind you, there's all other stars there as well. I could have cared less. I was just so excited. I embarrassed myself. I was like a little kid meeting Larry Bird. I was so excited to meet him, and we all met him. Dorinda and Chrisley, who will be back next week.
Yes, of course.
With us. It's tough right now because I've got this reality show that we're shooting. Right now, and everything else we have going on. So, apologize for not being able to come up Sunday night or Monday. Monday morning, but thank you for making the time, because I was like, no, I can't miss. He was amazing in person as he is on TV. In fact, he was giving Maria and I credit for how we laid the party out. And I was telling him just 2 hours before the party, I realized that they had put a lot of the couches in the middle of the tennis court, which
was the dance floor.
Which is right. So we take our whole tennis court and we basically dress it, for a party. So we have dance floors, we have couches, we have bars, and we noticed that, hey, geez, we might actually have, could be as many as 800 people. It was actually 850 people that showed up, and the party planners had put the couches in more toward the center of the court, and I'm like, there's not gonna be any standing room. So we called an audible at the last minute, and we moved all the couches closer to against the fence area. And anyway, Jon gave credit for that, and he gave credit for how the layout was and just how he said. And so we were just so flattered. And I was telling him how Maria had managed a Dunkin' Donuts as young as 14, so he was excited, and he was saying that maybe we could be guests to do some recon for him. And
That'd be fun.
Oh my God, talk about, it's like my Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm like so excited. So he lived up to it in person. He was just it was amazing. And this weekend he's going to be in Las Vegas doing something, and he invited us out as his guest. And once again, because we're in the middle of shooting, we're in the middle of production on the reality show, along with Extra, along with Maria's digital talk show, and of course with AFTERBUZZ, it's going to be tough. So the trick, we're really trying to make it work to get out there Friday and Saturday to see him again, which maybe I'll have more to report next week.
That would be very fun. Yeah, I mean, I got him to meet him briefly, and I went up to Ron Hoffman. And I said, if there's one person I can meet, I want you to make sure I meet Jon. And he did. He made it happen. So thank you for looking out, Ron.
Yeah, and also Jon offered to come into AFTERBUZZ and do a studio rescue, and And I was like, oh my God, that would be amazing. B, I'm like,
Did you offer this up to him, or was he like, I would just do this, or was it more
Well, he
of
said-
you bringing it up and he
he said he would love to come in the studio, one day this season, and be a guest, which of course would be unbelievable. And I said to him, how much we use his principles here, and how you have the whole staff watch the show religiously, whether they're fans of bars or not, but just to learn about business and how.
Speaking of which, Ian Kaiser is watching at the moment, so he's going to be joining us later in the show.
And it's great because Ian's a professional poker player as well, so I'm anxious to get Ian's thoughts on tonight's episode. But Phil, it has it or has it not been successful to have the staff watch the show?
It does.
Marissa, you can speak to it because I know, you're 22-year-old pretty girl. Like, I don't know if Bar Rescue would be first on your list of shows, but now you watch. Has it helped you?
It has, and I like the mentality that Jon brings to all the employees and whatnot. Like, say at the end of the episode, he's like, embrace people's wins, where other people might take it negatively, like, oh, we gotta pay them now. It'd be like, no, this is a good thing. This is good for your bar. This is good for morale.
Right, like with tonight, with the gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
and so when I had brought that up to him, I had said to him, we even joked when we were renovating, we were renovating the first floor, and in the middle of renovations, I said we were imitating him, criticizing us, and he got a kick out of that. And he's like, hey, I would totally come in and do it. And I was like, on the one hand, I'm like, oh my God, it'd be amazing. On the other hand, I'm like, oh, I don't want to get beat up by Jon. And then I thought we could feed him Steven. I thought Steven would be perfect.
I think, well...
And then, no, he'd be great because Jon would hammer Steven because Steven would make all his mistakes, but then Steven, I think, would redeem himself in the end.
I think Steven would redeem himself. I mean, I'd be interested because I'm sure there's always things that we can improve on.
Always.
So it would be interesting from his perspective to see where we could improve on. But what I love about the show is that I can say to these guys, would Jon Taffer be happy with this? And they just get it.
Your staff, you mean?
Yeah, my staff. And they understand. They're like, okay, we're going to fix it. That's it. Nothing further needs to be said. They understand what needs to be fixed.
And by the way, his wife came too.
Yes.
And it was great. And I remember saying to her, I said, I was like fanning myself because I was so excited. And, mind you, that tennis court's filled with stars, and that Maria brings. And I could have cared less. There's like 3 or 4 people that in the history of show business that I've even wanted to meet. And probably 2 of them are dead at this point. But, Jon was one of them. So I was I was so excited. It was awesome. So anyway, and it was great to be back again watching the show.
Watching him at his best.
Yeah. And so talking about tonight's show, I love seeing Jon in different situations. So we've seen him conquer almost every kind of bar, and now we've done dance clubs, right? We've done
karaoke bars.
Right?
We've done comedy clubs.
Yeah, I mean, so now tonight was a new thing because it was
a gambling
den establishment, whatever you want to call it. So it was like, man, even that, like he knows, or at least he brings in, a great leader will bring in those right people. We should.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the Recon. So it's in Vegas. It's called the Sand Dollar, established in 1976. So that's. As discussed kind of throughout the episode, it's got a history there, but does the history work for it? Does it not? And you have the 2 owners, Paul and Lisa, who have a history. An interesting kind of fact, Vegas kind of brings in $14 billion, in revenue a year. There's about 100,000 locals that earn $90,000 a year on average. That's a big number.
That's a big number.
So there's a lot of spending. Capital there.
There's a lot, but there is a lot of competition as well. And just looking at the exterior in the Recon, to me, it looked like an apartment building with a sign that said Sand Dollar.
Yeah.
It did not look like a bar. It did not look enticing. It does nothing about that place that was even romantic to say, oh, that's a little hole-in-the-wall bar. We can get away from the Strip. We can get away from Vegas and kind of just go to this place. I didn't get that feeling at all.
Yeah, I mean, it said Sand Dollar, and then, very tiny, it said since 1976. Which, if you don't know what the Sand Dollar is, you're like, okay, what is it? What the hell is this?
What is since 1976 we've been.
But I interestingly enough, from first kind of look, it seemed that Lisa would be the good one, and we'll talk about her more at length. But Paul right off the bat was was kind of the troublemaker of the episode. And I thought he really would stick to that.
I thought so too. I thought Paul struck me as the guy that we talk about every week, right? Which is the guy that it's my dream to own a bar. So he was a doctor, wasn't he?
Yes,
I believe, and so to me, he was probably a doctor who was very successful and like, hey, you know what? Great way. I'll have a bar. I can have some drinks with my friends. I can pick up girls. I mean, just every male's fantasy, which John, I think, has said in the past, but we've talked about, like, just spend $100,000 and renovate your basement.
That's much more easy.
Yeah, you just have your friends come over, put in a nice jukebox, a little dance floor. But, most people don't do that. So to me, he struck me as that guy who had some money, messed around with this girl, Lisa, like they had their little fling. And when that ran its course, he remained friends with her and said, you know what, I'll open this bar with you. You'll do all the grunt work and I'll be able to go in and flirt with girls. And by the way, his lines were amazing. Marissa, did any of those lines work on you?
No. Oh my goodness, it was so degrading. So degrading.
Where does one even think of this? Like, I don't even want to go to the level of talking about how true they may or may not be.
Oh, what?
The elbow thing.
I don't think that's true.
No, it's not true. It's just
like where do you come up with this?
It's just
do you read it on the internet?
I hate it because I always insult the bar owners, and then they inevitably and their people contact us or Facebook us, whatever. But I feel like just a little bit of, which we see in Hollywood, a little bit of that revenge of the nerd syndrome. We see it in Hollywood all the time, where everyone's nerds through high school and college, and then they get wildly successful, but they really didn't develop the social skills. They developed the business skills, but they didn't develop the social skills. And so now it's on. I've got the money. I can dress young. I can work out. I have time to work out because I have the money. And now it's on. Now it's time to make up for all that lost time, but awkward in their execution. And then also, like I said, a little bit of that revenge factor of like, oh, I didn't get it back then, so now damn well I'm going to get it now. Yeah. And so that was my initial impression of him. And, from what we understand, this is not heavily produced. That Jon is kind of his own man. He does his own thing.
Wait till Ian comes and he'll have something to say about that.
Well, Ian always gives me the counter, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I have to say it was TV gold. I mean, but honestly, I didn't know Jon, I would say that the producers said to this guy, you got to lay it on thick, and really that's what Taffer's wife, go after her. But we know Jon, and we know that he's a no-nonsense guy. So he delivered the goods for me, TV-wise, and so far as his behavior.
He did, not to jump too far ahead, but, I thought he was going to have a moment of relapse when, like, Vegas is made for fake-breasted women.
That was great. That was a great tease. We'll get there. We'll get there when
we'll talk about that.
We'll get there. But anyway, he's totally inappropriate with every girl, and then Jon's wife, of course, he can't help it to be who he is, and Jon rushes the bar, and he is defiant to the end. If I wanted her,
I would have gone home with her.
I'd be home with her right now or whatever I could, and. I was stunned, and I actually thought for a second we were going to see another bar being rescued. Yeah, like he was going to walk across the street to another bar in Vegas.
Most of the time that this does happen, they seem drunk. Did he seem drunk in any way?
Probably. I probably had a little buzz going. Yeah, I think so. And I think because he is successful in his other business ventures, it struck me as how someone successful would react, which is we all make mistakes. We all get emotional. We all get stupid. But if you're a successful person, you go, oh boy, what did I do? Wait a second. This is huge publicity for me. This is going to be up to $500,000 worth of free stuff, free advice, free labor, free machinery that I'm going to get. And no, I'm going to straighten my act up, and I'm going to man up, and I'm going to apologize and move forward. And that's probably why the guy is probably successful in his other pursuits. What else did you notice about the the recon. I mean,
there wasn't much in the recon apart from the fact
no
that
food.
there was no food, and they didn't even know what a drink, a screwdriver.
Yeah,
was.
let's talk about. Okay, that's really interesting. That bar staff could very well be the worst we've ever seen in the history of Bar Rescue.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I know a staff worse than that one. I mean, even the looks of them, they look like they should work at AfterBuzz behind the scenes. Like, I mean, they just looked like crew. They didn't look like bartenders.
But the sad thing is, they knew that they didn't know how to make the drinks, and they didn't do anything about it.
Right.
They didn't even take the effort to learn how to mix drinks properly.
And so I'm saying to myself, you're in Vegas, which is filled with, I mean, people who are in the restaurant and bar industry. It's the cornerstone of Vegas, along with gambling. And then I said to myself, well, but is it such a non-glamorous place to work, and is there so little money involved that maybe there's not the quality of help for a bartender that they could hire?
Well, I think it's twofold. They don't have the money to pay those guys.
Well, yeah, but a bartender's not going to make. It doesn't cost you money, Phil. Like, it does. It's not. You don't get paid at the same scale. I mean,
I understand that, but so then from the bartender perspective, if there's money to be made, I think they would have learned how to do it. But if they see like there's no one coming in, well, what's the point?
But why would you? But I'm saying,
as a manager,
if it's my bar, and maybe because I don't know the climate of Vegas, but I would never, ever. Those guys would not be behind the bar. None of them. I might have turned the girl, the cocktail waitress, turned her into a bartender, but actually she probably would be. She probably was a good cocktail waitress. I wouldn't rest. I would find that, those 4 young kids. So I'd find the 4 Phils that just moved to Vegas, and I'd even pay to train them before I would let those guys. I mean, it just looked like 4, I mean, just the way they were dressed, their bodies, everything. Nothing said bartender. And then what would have worked for me if they were either personable with the people or really good bartenders. And from what I saw neither.
Well,
and like I said, worst bartenders I've ever seen on Bar Rescue. Worst bartending staff ever.
Do you think partly, well, there's 2 things happening here. I think you're looking at it from a successful man's point of view.
Right.
In terms of how she was managing, because she's never had success in her life.
Right.
And I think partly it's also the fact that I think there's a high degree of the fact that she wanted to be the best bartender subconsciously.
But I was also sensitive to Phil's, like, that's how she made her money. She's probably grabbing at least $100, if not $150, at least, from doing the bartending from tips.
That's all well and good, but the big picture is, you were doing it at the detriment of the bar.
Absolutely, totally agree with that. But I do understand why she was doing that. What I don't understand is why she didn't hire better staff. And I understand because she wasn't getting the support from him as an owner that she needed, that she had to be there to make money to feed her kid. I get that point, but I agree with you that from the recon, it appeared like he was the bad guy and she was the martyr. She was the hero. She was doing, this poor single mom was doing everything she could to keep this place going. As the episode unfolds, we see that maybe that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, going to when they started their first speech, when Paul is apologizing to Jon, I thought, oh, here's the BS. Because it was like, I'm truly sorry if I offended your wife.
Right.
But then when he had his real moment of, saying like, hey, I'm really doing this for her, and she deserves way better than this, I was like, okay, you know what? I now understand this guy, and I do believe him. He is sincere. And from that moment, for me, it became all about Lisa and the fact that she wasn't doing the right things, and she was, at least he kind of listened and was willing to apologize. She just was a little bit too stubborn throughout the episode.
Yeah, I think stubborn and not prepared to manage a bar.
I mean, that's so let's talk about, they're having their meeting, and Jon opens up the floor like, hey, let's talk about the problems of the bar. And for me, it's always tough because, in each of these episodes, the owners want to blame the staff. But it's interesting because, it's like training a dog, right? Anytime the dog messes up, you as the owner have to take the blame why you allowed this to happen.
Absolutely.
And so she was so unwilling to do that at that point. Granted, I think it was Paulie who was kind of a liar, and Jon called him out on that. But overall, it was Lisa that was the problem.
Yeah, as a manager, because I would never ever have that staff. Now, some of those guys may be great doormen, barbacks, whatever, but they were not bartenders, And I would at least demand that they get educated, and maybe they were super honest. Okay, that's very tough to find in that business, but then go train them. Like I wasn't a bartender, and I got hired because it was a friend, but I put myself through bartending school. I went. There was a 2-week class. I went every single day. I memorized the drinks, and I tried. I did my best, but the fact that she had them there, right off the bat, showed that her mentality was much more of an employee rather than the employer.
Yeah. So let's talk about the stress test then, because a few goals that they were trying to accomplish. The main one obviously was to see if she could not get behind the bar.
Right.
Which she failed horribly.
Okay, she did fail horribly, but I've seen other episodes where we needed the person to get behind the bar, right? There's times where it's so busy, we call being in the weeds, where you're in the weeds, where you kind of need someone to come in. And I've seen owners and bar managers, the good ones, jump in and kind of, prime the pump, save the day, then back up when it dies down a little bit. So I mean, those guys, again, that's the worst staff we've ever seen in all the seasons of this. So if you're a manager, how do you sit there? I'll defend her on this. How do you sit there and just watch these monkeys not,
I think, if I'm to channel Jon, I think the lesson was, okay, look at how bad they really are. Feel helpless, and then you now have to help them. Because it's one thing, any good owner will jump behind a bar or wherever he's needed, washing dishes, cooking, whatever the case may be. But it's to help. It's not, now all of a sudden pushing those guys away, and you have 4 guys standing behind you while you're working, and they're just watching you.
Yeah, no, that's
understanding. That's not management. That's not helping.
No, that's not. That's enabling. Yeah, I agree. All right, I agree with that part.
But by the way, so Jen J, the mixologist expert with the cowbell, she might as well just rang every time they did something right, because
bang, bang. Oh, it was great.
It would just been better that way. It would have saved her a lot of work.
Yeah, she was smacking that thing left and right, and one of the bartenders was like, enough with the cowbell.
I think it was Bobby.
Yeah.
But that's a good training method.
Absolutely. It's like the Pavlov dog, It's you keep hearing that and you go, okay, all right, I got to learn my job. I also liked learning, and this is Marissa's point earlier, how the machines are calibrated for people to make it very, very difficult for the people to win. I never even knew. I thought there was one standard calibration, and that was it. I didn't realize.
I thought it was luck.
I thought it was luck too.
Go figure.
And it was great. They brought in you could tell that guy was a professional gambler, or at least that was a passion of his. And he was like, no, I can't come in here. Can't make any money. I'm out. And it was great to hear that as a house, you want people to win. They'll drink more. They'll tell their friends. More people will come.
They'll stay longer. And it's always speaks to, I don't know, sometimes I have a utopian view of business, but I still like to think a happy environment where people are treated well and paid well. In the short run, yes, the company doesn't make money, but in the long run, the company does. And so it's reassuring to see that even with the gambling, that it's better for people to win in the long run. And it also goes back to an old mob saying that you guys have heard me say here, but when the mob started Vegas, one of the first things they learned was that an honest game pays more than a dishonest one. So initially, when they would run crooked card games, crooked slots, crooked roulette, they made money in the short run. Then the word got out that the games were crooked. People didn't want to come anymore. So you know what? For all the other scams we're pulling, let's run an honest game. Because with an honest game, more people are going to come,
more people are going to enjoy it, and we're going to make more money in the long run. And I've always applied that even to my career in Hollywood. You know, all the time where I see guys that like steal ideas and they do all that stuff, and I'm like, you know what? In the long run, an honest game will pay out more than a dishonest one. And I still believe that with everything. And so it was, once again, just reassuring to see it to a degree, to see it in this case.
And the lesser lesson for me was the fact of, how we've seen kind of how to treat people that buy a bottle service. And while these guys, by the way, this is Ian Kaiser coming in. If you'll let him in, Marissa, thank you so much.
Apologies to our fans. The wet blanket.
Sit next to me.
The wet blanket arrives.
But what I'm saying is, how these guys, the high rollers, should be treated, and how they should be bought.
How they should be catered to.
Exactly.
And again, don't be buying drinks for Ian. Come up here. Come sit at the table. Not that I want you here, but yeah, it's like it's you don't want to be buying drinks for the people who spend 25 cents at the machines. You don't want to be spending money on them. And that happens, and he said those are the scam artists. They come in and they'll do like $5 worth of betting and drink like $200 worth of booze. So you have to be aware of that as a bartender. And then when you have the guys that come in that are spending real money, those are the people that you want to cater to.
Exactly. And and that was part of the problem with the stress test, was the fact that, they couldn't even play. They couldn't even sit down and play a game.
Right.
So.
All right, so Ian, so you're in. So now tell us all. Go ahead.
What's
No, go ahead.
We're on the stress test right now.
This is his first time at AFTERBUZZ, so help him with the mic, Phil. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm curious about those bartenders. Like, we're
the worst ever, right?
The worst, like
ever in the history of the show.
Is that because in Chicago I'm not like it's a different quality, or is it literally I've never seen anything?
We know about your secret life as a gambler. I told everyone on the air that you're a professional poker player. So you go to Vegas all the time. It could be one of two things. One, she just didn't manage that part properly and just went with what I call inflatable help, meaning like who was ever off the street, a friend of a friend, fine, you can just jump behind the bar. Or is the restaurant business so booming in that town that you really have your pick? The best bartenders have their pick of where they want to work, and if you were a good bartender, would you want to work there?
That could be. Yeah,
Do you think?
Well, that seems more likely. But in terms of
I just think of like some kid from the Midwest who just like, is innocent, moves there, has nowhere to like work. Like
one of the guys said he was only there a month and a half, and it's so maybe they had that syndrome of like just
I don't know.
People.
I'm maybe because I'm just I just never give up. I don't know. I would never settle. I would keep going until I think I would find 4 people better than that staff.
Oh yeah.
No matter where I am in the North Pole. I think I would find.
Well, to not know a screwdriver, which I think, the biggest teetotaler knows what a like it's a joke, and the fact that they couldn't really manage four drinks, like for the opening, the cold open, they had 4 drinks they had to figure out, and they're struggling, and the guy to see him look at the same bottle 10 times was just kind of sad,
it wasn't.
Did you, when you bartended, did you have like cocktail moves and stuff? Like, would you do the?
No.
But you were confident at least, like you would pick up the bottle. And
here's why. Yes, I went to school and I memorized all the drinks.
They didn't go. They must not have gone to school either, right?
Just like I said, which I blame the manager. No, I went and did all that stuff, and for me, I was speed and cleanliness. And so I had other bartenders who were better mixologists, but they liked me because I was speed. I was always loading the cooler. I was always filling the ice bins. I was always cleaning down the bars. I was always washing the dishes. Like I was just doing making up for as much of the grunt work for them to clear the way where they could really shine.
Well, here's 2 things we haven't talked about yet: the cleanliness and the blues theme.
Okay.
So I think there's 2 big points.
Well, really quick, one more point on the bartender. I do now. It's occurring to me. I do have friends who I think get into such a thing of like local business, where it's just opening beer bottles and
like
pouring
or beer and wine bar, is that
right? Or pouring specific drinks that they know their clientele and they don't have to have other type of drinks, you know. So
keep talking.
Yeah, so I think then when a new customer does come in and they have potential and they don't know how to pour a screwdriver, they completely alienate them. And I think they just become so reliant on their returning clientele that that's all they know. And I have had friends like that who don't.
And we've seen that on this show too.
Yeah, where they're not trying to learn new things all the time because.
Remember the old guy? I think his name was Coach, but whatever. All he did was crack beers. That's all he did.
Yeah.
He's open beer bottles. That's all. Right.
That's the type of I've seen that type of bartender, you know. And I think now that'll be the challenge. Now that they have the potential to get a new clientele, the challenge will be. Can we stay on top of these trends and, you know, how people are drinking and what they're drinking? And with the new drink list, I think that will help because those were cool as hell.
But I like that. Awesome. But here's what I liked. I liked that she kept it simple to 3 or 4 drinks. Yes. That was really smart. I'm like, oh my God, please don't try to teach these guys just how to. They're not going to get it in a short amount of time, if at all. So I was glad they kept it to just a few drinks they did.
So I'm sorry. So cleanliness and
and the music.
Yes.
Because, you know, we'd be remiss not to talk about that.
It was great that the doctor said 6 different diseases or whatever, 300 different diseases. And I was like, I forgot he's a doctor. When he saw the cockroach in the glass.
So, I mean, it's always funny when you get that, especially since, you know, it is his bar and he's talking about his bar and this is what you have here.
What type of doctor is he, by the way? He's for sure the type that we've talked about in the past. Oh. The creepy doctor that, you know, when the woman comes in, nice belly button ring.
The poor Maria. We think, that's a beautiful belly button ring.
And when I get the hate mail from these owners,
it's
being directed at you. Thanks for that one.
We know. Well, we went
over.
He
knows how he ended up redeeming himself, but I'm sure he knows how he came across at the beginning. Like, you know.
I think. Listen, I think we talked about it. This is he's one of these guys that had some money. It's always every man's fantasy to own a bar. He really liked her personally. Put up the money, and this was his fun night out, and not taking it serious. But to be a doctor and to be successful financially, you do have to have other principles, you know, in your personality. And it seems like those revealed themselves as the episode went on when he was like, hey, you know what? I get it. You know what? I'm not going to push Jon away. I'm going to accept this help. And I'm going to step in and be more responsible because guess what? As much fun as this is to get a buzz and flirt with these pigs, if I step back, if I, you know, take, say, 1 step back, I could actually take 2 steps forward in the long run. Absolutely. If I have a really good bar and I can, you know, I can go in and be a gentleman and I can, you know, that will fulfill even more of his fantasies. You know, is that making sense?
Absolutely.
And he got that, I think, because again, you know, he's successful. Whereas I've seen these other bartenders who are not successful in their lives. They're not. They pretend they are, but they're not. And that's why they don't really know how to adjust and how to roll.
Well, after the stress test, you know, I'm glad that they were, you know, Lisa and Paul were the ones that kind of identified that it was a complete disaster. You know, and you know,
and talk about the blues thing. We interrupted you, Phil. Because
it's a perfect transition because you know, Jon brings up the fact that you guys are holding on to the past, and with the city like Vegas, I mean, it's very progressive, and so you know, and I'm interested to see how this bar's going to do over time because they're going to have to kind of adapt with the changing times of Vegas.
Did you hear he said B.B. King's blues club in Vegas failed? Just a little trivia. Who owned the Lovett's podcast theater before Jon Lovitz? It was B.B. King.
Really?
And that's why it looked so nice in there. And it was, you know, he put all those millions into, you know, you see the red velvet, you see the balconies. And that's why Jon Lovitz came in and got it for a song because it failed as well up at Universal City Walk.
Yeah, and so, you know, so they were holding on to that past. And we've seen this so many times where, you know, they're afraid to let go. I mean, granted, it has a bigger history than, you know, some of the bars that we've seen, Ian. Their history goes back to 2010, and they're like, but it's such rich history.
Yeah, right. No. No, it's like everyone just knows the name. It's, yeah. So this is, you know, 40 some odd years, but
it's not working. You have to adapt with the time, and you know, again, at the time, blues was the big thing. Just like with Dimples, you know, karaoke. It was the first bar and things, you know, that did karaoke. But you have to, over time, do something more.
She fought it a little bit. She did fight it. He didn't.
Absolutely.
She fought it. And I was really just so glad that she listened because when you go to new bands, each new band, the criteria of that kind of bar that's bringing in bands is most of the time to say to those bands, oh, okay, I heard your CD or your demo. I like your music. How many friends can you bring in? And so what you do is you get these bands that have 50, 100 people, 150, even if it's family and friends, whatever it is. Now you're assured that you're getting a set clientele.
I was wondering about the economics of it. So let's say they get a new band. I wonder if this place is charging a door fee, first of all, because that's prohibitive for some people. Even a $5, people don't always want to pay money to go in.
I think maybe initially you don't, because it's Vegas, and again, everything is just too much competition. But what didn't come up and may have to come up is generally with those bars, your manager also has a little bit of a background in music.
Yeah.
Like, so the bar I worked at was called TT the Bears in Cambridge, and the Randy who managed it did a little bit managing of the bar, but mostly it was bands, booking those bands that had the big following.
Well, so what can you get if you're not there's no door fee? Are you giving the bands just free booze for the night, or like what are you?
You're right, because you'd have to cut them. Well, you know what? Then maybe you would have a small door fee that you would cut them in on.
Yeah, it gets hard when you get into bands, because I don't know. There's definitely a huge contingent of bands that'll play for just free drinks for the night. They want to be out there and will bring friends.
But you're right. No, you have to go to a door. It's a great question. We'll have to follow up with John or his people. We'll have to find out, because, or we should talk to the owners. Maybe we can reach out to the owners and find out, because you're right. And you do. I forgot about that. It's the door that pays the bands.
Yeah, you split it, or you pay them entirely if they get.
Even if it's, for me, most of the door things were like $5,
right?
Right. For the smaller bands, and then when 10, 15 when it became the bigger ones. But there's nothing like seeing a band. If you love live music, there's nothing like seeing it in a bar like that.
Yeah.
It's really fun, and it's a great way to get them new people and new income. So I think that was an amazing call.
Yeah.
To pull it away from blues and to go, with mainstream music. And I love that. And anyway,
let's talk about the renovation aspect of it, since that's where this is kind of leading to. They kind of see the sign being taken down, which was heartbreaking for Lisa, but she trusted him to kind of do it, and not a lot there. Sometimes we get kind of the insight into how they're building it as they're building it. Did we see the floor plan? We didn't see the maps this week at all, right? Because usually he brings out the map of the surrounding area and then the blueprint.
We didn't really go over that much on this one. Again, why I love this show, it's just I get educated all the time. So 3% of people know blues. That was interesting, but more interesting to me is fluorescent lighting. Yeah, right, Marissa, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Right,
I never thought of that.
It was. We've always heard, fluorescent lighting. It is just, it's not good. But that's really what we know. It's not really pleasant to have in an office. It's not. I at least have heard that, but I never knew about
makes the eye blink,
making the eye blink, and wearing you out, tiring you out, and 30-40% less chance of whatever people staying. Right, or whatever the number was.
They stay 30 to 40% less time.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting, and again, a great takeaway for even us at AFTERBUZZ. We don't have fluorescent lighting here, in our office space areas, but I'm going to keep that in mind. No matter how cost effective it seems to be, think of what that does to an employee.
Yeah.
Too.
Can I ask you something about what I was thinking about when watching the episode? And this, I don't know, this could be way off, and it definitely seems counterintuitive, but I wonder if you go too nice with the build out and the bands and I wonder if Vegas locals they're looking for an escape from typical strip fare,
But if you but if you look at the renovation, I didn't think this was one of his higher scale renovations.
Yeah.
It was just clean. He just cleaned it up.
That's what you have to be clean. I'm not saying not clean.
Which he did. Yeah. But if you notice, it wasn't one of his higher scale renovations. I think it still feels to me like I can just go to a bar, get away from Vegas, get away from the,
right.
I can get away from all that crap and just go have a couple of beers, hang out with my friends, play some pool, and even do some video poker or listen to a band. I to me, I thought that's exactly what he did.
Yeah. No, that was my question. It seemed like that, but I just wonder if you went too far. I think you would probably alienate some of your local business,
and it wouldn't make sense business wise, because you'd be dumping all that money into something that isn't designed for that. It's designed to be a local bar with good music, some fun video poker, and an escape from strip life.
Right.
Hence the name 702, which I thought was great.
Great name, yeah.
And the thing is, he didn't really focus on like adding more tables, because usually in the past episodes it's about adding more tables, creating more revenue. The thing is, they really focus on utilizing the slots better, and that'll bring in the money,
right?
Not the tables.
And I think in the bands, and like I said, if they can figure out charging the door of the bands, and they may have to get a music manager, a booking person. Because it's a lot of work. You end up getting, having to vet a lot of bands, you get a lot of their CDs, constantly their music sent to you, the demo reels, and then saying to them, okay, your music's great, but do you have a following? I'm not going to have you in here if there's just going to be 2 people in the bar, and it's a lot of work. That is a lot of work, and she may have to. The doctor may have to go into his wallet and get someone to do that. I also thought, when we did do. When they came out and they saw the remodel, on a shallow note, I was happy to see Lisa with the glasses off and with that kind of hair and makeup, because I knew she was beautiful, but I thought her presentation, to me, that was I would love that as the face of my brand, as my bar manager.
100%. Yeah, right? I thought the same thing right away. I said, well, why aren't they presenting it? Even him, when he started, I think he went earlier, like the second day, he started having a tie and things before. I think he was in a t-shirt, things like that. But absolutely, you should be presenting yourself like that if you're the face of the company, you know, and holding your bartenders to the same standard.
Exactly. And I was like, because it's all I'm saying to myself is I see these guys in like construction worker t-shirts and stuff, and I'm like, how do we dress these guys up? And John even found the perfect kind of shirts. It's like those bowling shirts, that Charlie Sheen shirt, but in black. It's something like that. It's not unflattering to a body type. Like they didn't look bad anymore. There was to me they looked a lot better. Yeah. In those outfits, it looked so much more professional. Which, by the way, so on that note, Maria's sick of our AfterBuzz shirts, Phil, and she wants new ones here because she says they're all worn out. So we have to talk about that. It's big, but
a full redesign or just new?
Well, maybe, I don't know. We have to talk to her more. But the point is, it's the same thing here. That's why we all wear our uniforms, every day, and we all try to have a certain look because it inspires the hosts and the guests and the people who come in here. And I'm a big believer in that. And I think even the outfits you picked for them I thought were perfect.
So let's talk about the food, which I thought was brilliant. The fact that, unless I'm mistaken on this fact, the fact that you can order it from your iPhone.
Okay, so back up a little bit. The statistic about people, when they eat more, they gamble more. Same things like...
And they stay more 53 minutes or something.
Right.
52 minutes, I believe it is. And we've heard that statistic.
We've heard it before. And genius that they're like, okay, no kitchen. We'll just put a hole in the wall with a little slot, like a little window, and just... You open the flap and two people there waving and smiling.
Now that's what I'm curious about, the economics behind that as well. Like I understand it's designed just to keep people there longer. But do you think the bar, they're taking a little cut of that, or is that just fully just a service to keep people in the bar?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
Because the reason I start wondering that, it's also a thing. Yes, it keeps people in, but if it's not the right atmosphere for food, if it's a bar where sometimes, especially if people are like playing poker and drinking, and then there's suddenly somebody's messy sandwich next to you, and sometimes it could be not the right atmosphere. So that's what got me thinking, like, are they at least getting a piece of that as well? But I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Or well, I know maybe the waitresses or whatever get tips off it. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I don't know.
By the way, speaking of payouts, it was interesting kind of learning the hierarchy of, the machines in terms of, okay, it actually does go back to the bartenders and things like that, the scale.
Right. Yeah.
So I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
No, I think that they meant that they just get tipped more when those big ones hit.
Right, you mean so if someone wins $400,
they're gonna do if someone hits a royal flush and wins $4,000, the $100 tip is coming out.
Well, what about the $400 the girl won? Like, what would be standard for her to give on that?
It's tough with they're pretty happy with, I don't know, like. I guess if you're tipping, you're a generous tip. I think if you're giving like 10% or something.
So $40.
If you give $40, a lot of people probably aren't.
So
people are probably giving 1 to 5%.
It's not like waitressing where 15 to 20, 15 standard, 20 is like a little better.
I don't think with casino tipping. No.
Okay. Phil, did we? And I'm so sorry, guys. It's our fans. We're so overwhelmed here these days right now with some of the other projects we have. Have you looked into the status now of the bar of 702?
We know that revenue's up there. More just going off of what the statistic was there. Dorinda was going to grab it for me, but she's actually talking about distribution for a movie. So this is where Dorinda's really amazing. But yesterday she was on a lot of phone calls to get her movie distributed. So we'll get the follow up next week from her.
And by the way, if I go to Vegas with Maria this weekend, I'll make sure I go by 702. I'll do some recon. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get the horse's mouth. But I also thought just the way she ended it. Thank you, Jon. She was so happy. I mean, this was, I really think, a successful rescue.
Yeah.
I think this wasn't the usual belligerent. Well, once Jon left, there was, I mean, usually at the best we get is, I liked what they did. We kept some of his principles. We went back to the old name, though. But this was like they were fully in, and she seemed really happy.
Yeah, I think what I imagine most people probably think, oh, we'll just get a publicity hit off doing the show.
Get a lot of free equipment.
Free equipment.
Facelift.
Yeah. But I think.
But then I got it.
Right.
I got it from here, buddy. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Jon. Beat it.
But I think if you really go in with open arms and say, I'm going to embrace this process.
All in.
And I think then, like what he gave is a recipe for success, I think.
It's just like I always say in life, 100% commitment to anything. If you're going to be a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, a parent, an employee, employer. If you give 100%, you'll have success. And the problem is most people don't. They give 50 to their jobs, they give 50 to their relationships, and so they get half results, and then those half results make them angry and bitter and blah 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 blah. And I think it's the same with Jon. I think you have to 100% commit to what he's doing.
With this bar, I'd be interested to see. I think seeing the success of it, just even the past few months. I think regardless of where it is, I want to see it in like 3 years.
Right.
Because of the nature of how Vegas changes, and it really is kind of. It changes the culture, and so I want to see if they can kind of keep up with that change.
Well, for me, here's what you have going for you, right? Now you have a nice looking bar. You have bands all different bands come in, which means all different people. You have a girl that's beautiful and is willing to work hard. She's a worker, okay? Yeah. And that's awesome. It's always great when you have a worker. There's a lot of people that might be dynamic, might be fun. We know on our staff, Pat is somebody who, isn't as good of a worker, but happens to be very talented. Now, someone like Marissa is a really, really hard worker. And, so you know what? At the end of the day, that's precious. And that girl's Lisa's a hard worker. So you have that to work with. You also have the investor who loves her, believes in her. Seems like he's willing to bend. Like if you say, hey, can we get another X amount of dollars for this or not X amount of dollars for that? It seems like he's all in for the success. So I think for me, what's going to be missing is maybe a talent booker to book those bands and to figure that out. I think once you figure that out, I don't see why this just can't be a great local bar that has great bands for fans of just, local dive bar music.
Excellent. And on that note, I think that concludes this episode as Marissa's looking at me with the funny eye.
Yeah, she's like, get out of my studio. Ian, you weren't so bad. I thought you'd really be...
I was ready for you to attack me.
Well, we didn't open up the...
ready.
We'll have the debate later whether or not the reality is actually real in Bar Rescue.
No, wait. You think it's all set up? Here we go, Ian. Really? This is how we have to end? This is how we have to end. What
next time?
You think that's all produced?
Absolutely.
No, Ian.
Yeah.
We know him personally. Why would you say that?
Ian thought that that Jon Taffer watching the recon live was very staged and produced. I said, Ian, how hard is it for them to have these?
I didn't say that's hard, but then coming in at the exact moment, they start then confronting the guy.
Okay. I probably will buy that. He heard the guy was doing it. Maybe he wasn't watching it live on the camera, but he heard and probably said, and I know from doing a reality show now, like, all right, I'm going to rip this effing guy's head off right now. And they said, okay, can you just wait? Can you just wait till we set it up? Absolutely. Okay. But I know for a fact, because I know certain bars that Jon wouldn't rescue because of how he felt, his personal feelings. It was like, no, I'm not working with these people. F that. I don't give a shit. So, no, he's not that guy that's like, oh, this will be good TV. He's not that guy.
Yeah.
He just isn't. From what I've heard, like I said, I have facts to back that up. So.
No, he was a great man sticking up for his wife.
Yeah, and I'm sure maybe...
Any good man in his right mind would do that.
There's no way. He's too traditional, too old-fashioned.
There's another staff member, Kathy Kelly. Come on in.
Oh, good. Another one that can just back up Ian. You're the one. You need rescuing too, Kathy. That's a whole
I've already introduced you. Come
and by the way, now you pissed me off. I don't like Ink Rescue. I'm tired of all these other, like the car rescue. I'm really tired of all the other rescue shows.
Bar Rescue.
Well, I don't care. I don't care about a car. What, car businesses screw people anyway? Like,
how
really?
About podcast rescue? We'll go in and save Fledgling podcast. No, we don't need it, but other podcasts.
Yeah, all the other podcasts need it. No,
come on.
That I would do. Fine.
I think that one's all right.
As long as Jon produces it. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks
for more shenanigans. Catch Keven on the reality show.
Yeah, no, in another year when you see it. All right.
Ian, where can they follow you?
On
other
Facebook? I don't know. Do people follow people on Facebook?
Ian Kaiser.
No, but on a more serious note, Ian did help produce a very great movie called Adventures of Serial Buddies, which we have not even spoken about.
Oh, please, you guys, go to iTunes, go to serialbuddies.com, and please rent our film. Every download is
as well as Amazon and Google.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we got criticism from some fans who said, "Wait, I got it at Amazon. You never mentioned Amazon."
Oh, very good.
And it'll be.
And every download keeps AfterBuzz going, and we really do it sincerely, and we really appreciate. We've gotten a ton of people to download so far. Thank you, but the PBS telethon needs to continue.
You get Jerry in, yeah.
All right, and on that note, Kathy and Marissa are both staring down on us. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back next week along with Dorinda and Chris Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later. Kathy Kelly.
Views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.